All right, looks like we are back live. Had to deal with an OBS crash, which is so unfortunate, but it happens. It happens. I'm not going to let it deter me, but that was definitely a frustrating little situation. But we're back up and going, and I was talking about Shocking Sharpshooter. It's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a red creature, human archer, uncommon with reach. Whenever another creature you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to target opponent. It's a 1/3. And before the client decided to crash on me, I was mentioning the black creature that is 4 mana, and whenever a creature dies, you gain a life and the opponent loses a life. I could see red, black, kind of, I don't want to say aristocrats to a certain degree, but yeah, like a red, black ping deck could be something that I would definitely try. So me, I really like sharpshooter. It has reach as well. Um, and with mobilize and different things, this could even go in the red, white mobilize deck where you're getting a bunch of creatures to sacrifice, even endure and whatnot. So I think this creature's really, really solid around the board. I'm gonna put it at 3, but I think the upside is all the way up to 3.5. Next we have Sparring Boltcaster, 3 mana, 2 generic and a red creature, ogre wizard, uncommon. When this creature enters, it deals 5 damage to target creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. It's a 3/3. I'm gonna give it 3. I think it could be a 3.5, but there's gonna be a lot of situations where it ETBs and potentially be a 3/3 for 3. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it right there. Next we have Channel Dragonfire. It's a 1 mana red spell, sorcery, uncommon. Channel Dragonfire deals 2 damage to any target, and you can harmonize for 7. That's 5 generic, 2 red. 1, 2 damage to any target, sorcery. I'm gonna give it a 3. I don't think it's the worst. The harmonize is cool. You have a few of these in your deck, you might be able to ping them out for damage completely. But I'm not first picking this card. It's just like, okay, cool. I'll definitely run it. War Effort, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a red enchantment, uncommon. Creatures you control get +1/+0, and whenever you attack, create a 1/1 red creature that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Mm, it doesn't multiply or anything like that. I'm gonna put this as a 1.5. It's just like if you run one copy of this for your tokens and give them a 1/0 anthem, and they're trading out one token for another token, something like that is great. But outside of that, I'm like, I don't know how much I would utilize that card at 4 mana, especially. Next, we have Sunset Strike Master. That's 2 mana, 1 generic and a red creature, human monk, uncommon. You can tap it and add a red. Solid. Pay 3, 2 generic and a red. Tap it, sack it. It deals 6 damage to target creature with flying. Okay, and it's a 3/1. This is a 3 for me. I kind of love the fact that it has the ramp on there and it can potentially take out a dragon on top of it. I might be on one, but I'm gonna get this a 3.5. I really like this card. I think it's great. Next, we have Equilibrium Adept. That's 4 mana, 3 generic, and a red creature dog monk, uncommon. When this creature enters, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. Has flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, this creature gains double strike until the turn. It's a 2/4 with no evasion. We've seen this card before. Bloomborough, pay 4. I think it was on a 4/1. So this is potentially a 2/4 double striker. I'll give it a 3. That's honest. I'm gonna give it 2.5. It's okay. It's okay, but I don't know if I'm really gonna be jamming. Like I'm not gonna make room for it. Next, we have Twin Bolts. That's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a red instant common. Twin Bolt deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. This limited set is not looking to be low toughness at all. I'm just gonna give this a 2. Wild Ride, 1 red, sorcery common. Target creature gets +3/0 and gains haste until end of turn. It has Harmonize. I'm gonna give it a 1. Aggro decks probably like you're running your 1 mana guy, and then you pump like you have 3 of the 1 mana guys with haste, and you have 3 of these. You're cool. They both become exponentially better. But solo, I'm just like maybe Wild Ride to 1.5. Haste is a pretty strong ability, and 3 points of damage wouldn't be anything to scoff at. Next, we have Molten Excel. That's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a red sorcery common. You may cast this spell as though it had flash if you behold a dragon as an additional cost to cast it. Molten Excel deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Mm-mm. Sorcery speed, we'll give this a 3. Yeah. Meticulous Artesian, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a red. Creature Gen Artificer, common prowess. When this creature enters, create a treasure token. It's a 3/3. 2.5. Just on turn 4, why am I wanting to run out this 4 mana 3/3? Even though it has prowess, I better have some more to go with it. There needs to be more to go with it. Next, we have Fire Rim Form. That's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a red enchantment. Common, flash, enchant creature. When this aura enters, enchanted creature gains first strike until end of turn. Cre- Enchanted creature gets 2/0. Once again, your aggro decks pretty much are going to be the only ones that want this. And it's only till end of turn that it gains the first strike. I'll give it a 1. It's gonna be really low on my radar. Next we have Storm Shriek Feral. That's 5 mana, 4 generic, and a red creature dragon common with flush out. That's 1 generic and a red sorcery omen. Discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Solid. It's a flying haste 3/3 that you can pay 1 in the generic. This creature gets 1/0 until end of turn. 3.5. Discard a card, draw 2 cards. That's not that bad. Don't have to. You say you have this in the land, you're definitely netting 2 cards instead of having to disc. I don't. Hmm. I feel like I've said like I don't want to have to discard 2 cards to draw 2 cards, and that stands true. Having to discard 1 card to draw 2 cards, I think, is always going to be better. And even though this is a 5 mana 3/3, it has potential to gain more power. I wish it was +1, plus 2/0 instead of 1/0, but that's beggars trying to be choosers. All right. Next is Summit Intimidator, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a red creature Yeti, common with reach. When this creature enters, target creature can't block this turn. It's a 4/3. Uh, I'll give it a 2.5. It's not bad. Basic 4 mana stuff. Narset's Rebuke, 5 mana, 4 generic, and a red instant common. Narset's Rebuke, deal 5 damage target creature. Add blue, red, or white. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Okay, I'll give it a 3. 5 mana deal 5 is fine. It's fine. But to add 3, I think it actually goes to 3.5. But the 5 mana cost initially is what kind of holds it at that 3 because there's no way to reduce the cost. Next, we have Jeskai Devotee. That's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a red creature orc monk. Common, flurry. When you cast your second spell each turn, creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and you can pay 1. Add blue, red, or white. Activate only once each turn. It's a 2 mana 2/2. Give it 2.5. Next, we have Shock Brigade. That's 2 mana, 1 generic and a red creature, goblin, soldier, common with menace. Mobilize 1. It's a 1/3. Give it a 2. Kind of just goes in your, aggro decks. Underfoot Underdogs, 3 mana, 2 generic and a red creature, goblin, common. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. You can pay 1, tap, target creature you control with power 2 or less. Can't be blocked this turn. It's a 1/2. I'm gonna give it a 3. I wish as a 3 mana card, it would have been nice if this creature was a 2/2 or even a 3/1 or something. But being a 1/2 is just so vulnerable. I can't really take it up much higher than that, even though it has a pretty good ability. Next, we have Rescue Leopard, 3 mana, 2 generic and a red creature, cat, common. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's a 4/2. 3 mana 4/2 is not bad. Put it at 3. Solid red cards here. Seize Opportunity, 3 mana, 2 generic and a red instant common. Choose one, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards, or up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 until end of turn. Your red, white aggro decks are gonna eat this up, but it still needs other things to be good. I'm gonna put it at 2.5. And last on the red list is Devoted Duelist, 2 mana, 1 generic and a red creature, goblin, monk, common with haste. Flurry, whenever you cast your second spell, each turn this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's a 2/1. So 2 mana, 2/1 that goes right in the second spell deck. Kind of goes in the red black ping deck. It needs other things to be good. I'm gonna put it at 2.5. So overall, I think red. mm, it's okay. I don't. Was there even a single 5 in red to my knowledge? I don't think the power level was on par. I think they just like white had some bangers with some solid, consistent spells. Blue had some bangers with okay spells. It seems like red just kind of across the board. Not really any bangers, but mostly just good spells. I think my most interested card was this Tiger. And honestly, this Corey Steel Cutter. I really liked that. Yeah. Just good cards. Not much to say about red. Nothing really stood out to me off cuff outside of the steel cutter being able to do his thing in red, white, magmatic hellkite. Definitely being able to destroy one of the lands with people running so many. I'm sure they're gonna be running those dual lands. I really like this tiger because, like I said, say you run red green and you run 4 of these tigers and you're able to play out this tiger on turn 4. And you have another tiger in your hand. On turn 4, you ran out this tiger, made 5 mana, ran out another tiger, made 5 mana, played something else. So this is probably my most one of the cards I'm most interested in seeing in play. But I didn't really feel like there was just immense power coming out of red. All right. I'm gonna take another few minute break and hopefully we can just wrap it up with green. I'm happy. When I started this, I was like, probably might not be able to make it through one of them. Voice might give out, but we are here. If you're watching, I hope you are enjoying the content. If you have any feedback for me, any critiques, please let me know. If you have any ideas on the cards, I would love to hear them. I'm streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, so you can always leave a comment. I'll do my best to get back to them. And yeah, we're gonna take another quick break, let my voice rest for a second, and I'm gonna be right back to finish off green and the artifacts. All right, all right. Hello, Fantastics. It's Mr. Clintastik, and I'm back with the remainder of the set review for Takir Dragonstorm. So far, I've already been over the multicolored spells, the white spells, the blue, black, and red spells. All that's left is the green and the artifacts. So, while I have the time, I'm just going to jump right into it. To start off green, we got Crater Hoof Behemoth. That is an 8 mana, 5 generic, 3 green creature beast. Mythic haste. When this creature enters, creatures you control gain haste. No, gain trample and plus X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. It's a 5/5 and it has haste itself. So this is a commander staple. You're gonna oftentimes see someone make a bunch of tokens or whatever, and then they're gonna follow up with a Crater Hoof Behemoth that has haste itself and just beat down. How good is this gonna be in limited? I don't know. I don't know. 8 mana is an awful lot. Um, am I gonna be able to make enough tokens to make it matter? And is an 8 mana 5/5 with haste good? Well, I mean, I guess an 8 mana 6/6 at the very least because it counts itself. I mean, right now, I got to give it a 2. I feel like this card needs more. This needs more in limited to be good. Like I respect it in Commander and whatnot, but in Draft and Seal, I think it needs a whole lot more to be good. I'm gonna give it a 2. Next, we have Warden of the Grove. That's 3 mana, 2 generic and a green creature Hydra rare. At the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X, where X is the number of counters on this creature. It's a 2/2. This has the potential to go crazy. Even by itself, it's putting a counter on it. So 3 mana, 3/3, 3 mana, 4/4, 5/5. It's exponential, and then it just is where subsequently, just as a byproduct, is what I'm trying to say, makes these endure, like gives creatures endure. I think it's really good. I'd probably want to definitely play. I'm gonna give it a 3.5, with it potentially being on a 4.0 scale right there, or 4.0. Next, we have Bloomvine Region. It's 5 mana, 3 generic, 2 green creature dragon rare. It has an omen on it. Claim territory. That's 3 mana, 2 generic, and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic forests. Reveal them. Put one on the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand and shuffle. The other side, flying. When this creature or another dragon you control enters, gain 3 life. It's a 4/5 flyer. I'm gonna give this a 5. This isn't necessarily a bomb. This isn't necessarily removal. It's not removal at all. But what it does on both sides of the card is just good. So a 3 mana card is going to already net you 2 of your forests. That's the big kicker. It only gets forests, but that's fine. To a certain degree, I think that's fine. Actually, that's going to reduce it. That's going to reduce it a lot. Because if this was a 3 mana, go find 2 basic lands in this 5 color set, put one tapped and other in your hand, it will be a 5.0 card, no questions asked, just done deal. But it's not. It's only for forests. With that being said, you're already gonna have a green to play it. Getting 2 forests is gonna help you not be mana screwed, and it's also going to help ramp, no questions asked. But only being able to play forests is gonna limit it to heavy green based decks. Whereas if it said any basic land would have opened up to this would have been top picked card of the century. But as it stands, 3.5, and I don't think 3.5 is bad. A green heavy deck is gonna love it. You're gonna ramp, you're gonna play your things. It just could have been overpowered. Next we have Serac, Elusive Hunter, 3 mana, 2 generic and a green, legendary creature, human warrior. Rare, this spell can't be countered. It has trample. And whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. It's a 4/3. So 3 mana 4/3 isn't bad. It can't be countered. It has trample and potentially draws you cards. On removal, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Just solid card. Laced Prowler, 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 green. Creature Snake Ranger rare. When this creature enters, you may mill cards equal to the number of lands you control. I don't want to do that. Renew. You can renew it. Pay 2, generic and a green. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put X 1/1 counters on target creature where X is the number of lands in your graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a 5/5. So a 4 mana 5/5 just is good. It's just good. I'm gonna give it 3.5 because just 4 mana 5/5. Boom, remove it. Otherwise, I'm beating you in a lot of combats. Yeah, it could use trample. It could use X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 because I'm not gonna want to mill my cards, and I don't know if the renew effects don't come into play, but it needs something like trample, vigilance, haste, something to make it kind of get over the hump of just being okay, cool. It's better than average, but it still needs some stuff. All right, next we have Nature's Rhythm. It is a X and 2 generic. No, X generic 2 green sorcery rare. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less. Put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Harmonize X and 4 green to do it again. I mean, it goes and gets what you want. It's expensive. I'm gonna give it a 3. Honestly, threes aren't bad for me. Threes are cards that are pretty much getting played. Don't get me wrong. It's like, okay, cool. But how am I gonna capitalize and make this card the best it can be? So solid card. Herd Heirloom, Herd Heirloom, 2 mana, 1 generic and a green artifact, rare. You can tap it, add 1 mana of any color, spend this only to cast a creature spell, or tap it until on the turn target creature control with power 4 or greater gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I'm giving this a 3.5. It's gonna help me play my creatures faster. If I have that red guy that gives me the 5 colors, I'm gonna play 2 3Ds, 2 3 of those, and I'm playing everything. I'm just able to play whatever I want. And then when I'm done playing my stuff, my creatures with 4 power or greater, trampley boys, and drawing me cards. Honestly, if this was a creature itself, it would be 4 or more. But just as a mana rock with upside, I'll put it at 3.5. Next, we have Dragon Sniper. It's 1 green mana, creature, human, archer, uncommon, with vigilance, reach, and death touch. It's a 1/1. Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna run it 3.5. Anything that gives it anything, like if you're running the green black counters deck, this goes crazy. You give this indestructible, this goes crazy. Like this card itself is just in itself all rounder card. I'm swinging in at you. Can you do it? Do you want to lose a creature? No, you don't. Okay, you can't swing at me because I'm gonna block and still dies. Oh, you have a flyer. I have reach. Yeah, it's everything. I really like it. Next, we have Formation Breaker. 2 mana, 1 generic, and a green creature beast. Uncommon. Creatures with power less than this creature's power can't block it. And with as long as you control a creature with a counter on it, this creature gets +1/+2. So it's a 2/1. This is a 2 mana 2/1 that if you put a counter on it, it's a 3 mana, a 2 mana 3/2 that becomes just by having a counter on it, a 2 mana 4/5, 2 mana 4/5 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 4. No, power creatures power 3 or less. For 2 mana, you're in the 3.5. That's excellent. That's really. I'll run multiple copies of this. Slap a counter on one of them, and I'm good to go. Green black counter is gonna love this card. Next we have Inspirited Vanguard. 5 mana for generic and a green creature, human soldier, uncommon. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, oh, that's excellent. Endures 2, and it's a 3/2. For 5 mana, uh, so 5 mana, 2/2, or 5 mana, get a 3/2 and a 2/2. I'm putting it at a 3. I'm putting it at a 3. Every time it attacks, it makes a 2/2. But this could be removed so easily. So you can make it a 5 mana 5/4. That's still easily blocked. Every no, because every time it attacks, it endures. So you can just keep putting counters on itself. The mana cost is kind of painful at 5, but I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I think it's really good, and multiple copies might not even be bad. You're gonna be putting counters in places, so the green black counter deck is gonna love it, and then if not, you're just gonna be generating 2/2 spirits. It's kind of good. Knockout maneuver, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a green sorcery uncommon. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature control, then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Give that a 3. Every green black deck's gonna want that. Rainveil Rejuvenator, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a green creature elephant druid uncommon. When this creature enters, you may mill 3 cards. Then you can tap this, add green equal to this creature's power. It's a 2/4. For 4 mana, give it 2.5. 3 mana, I'm cool with it. 4 mana, that's a little late to be ramping and limited. Next, we have Sage of the Fang, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a green. Creature, human druid, uncommon. When this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It has renew, 3 generic, and a green. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then double the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. It's a 2/2. 3 mana, 2/2. That you can put a counter on it. So it's an intercept 3 mana 3/3. I'm gonna give this a I'm gonna give it 2.5. 3 mana 3/3 is fine. Exiling from the yard is where its upside is, but it's so late in the game. This card could be better, but it's just not there for me. Next, we have Traveling Botanist. 2 mana, 1 generic, and a green creature dog scout, uncommon. When this creature becomes tapped, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you may reveal it, put it in your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. It's a 2/3. 2 mana, 2/3 dog scout that gives you land value potentially. I'm gonna give that a 3. Get that a 3. That's solid. Disruptive Stormbrood, 5 mana, 4 generic, and a green creature dragon uncommon with an omen, Petty Revenge. That's 1 generic and a black. Destroy target creature with power 3 or less. Sorcery speed. Ugh. But you get to do that again and again and again because it cycles back into the deck. Flying, when this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. It's a 3/3. I'm kind of leaning towards a 4 for this. Yeah, the fact that it is limited by what it can destroy is what's keeping it from being a 4.5, but this card is just really good to me. Next, we have Encroaching Dragonstorm. It's 4 mana, 3 generic, and a green enchantment, uncommon. When this enchantment enters, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. When a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. Mm, I like this, even though I was just talking on the other card that ramped for equal to its power at 4. This is going and pulling 2 resources from your deck. So hopefully taking two dead draws out of your library, and you could potentially play it again, get two more out of your library, and it's just helping you ramp to these big plays and help. This helps synergize the five colored decks. So I'm gonna actually go on a limb and give this a 3.5. And I think it's gonna gain in value. I think people are gonna want this because it goes and gets any basic land type. And it's gonna just fix a lot of decks where we haven't seen enough cards to fix for these five color builds yet. Next is Synchronized Charge. There's two mana, one generic, and a green. Sorcery. Uncommon. Distribute two 1/1 counters among one or two target creatures you control. Creatures you control with counters on them gain Vengeance and Trample until end of turn. Has Harmonized for five, for generic, and a green. I'll give it 2.5. I think that's really good, but you need something to go with it, of course. And any green black counters deck, I've been saying that constantly. I feel like I've been reading off back to back to back cards for a green black counters build, whereas in other things where I was reading the two spells in a turn cards, I just wasn't excited and I didn't see the inherent direct easy value from it. Next we have Attuned Hunter, three mana, two generic and a green creature, human ranger, uncommon with trample. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. It's a 3/3. I'll give it a 2.5. Has trample, 3/3 with trample. Makes for some interesting combats. Next you have Dragon Brood's Relic. That's two mana, one generic and a green. It's an artifact, uncommon. Tap, tap an untap creature you control, add one mana of any color, and pay eight, three generic, a white, blue, black, red, green, sack this artifact. Create a 4/4 dragon named Reliquary Dragon that's all colors. It has flying lifelink. When this enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. Activate only as a sorcery. Whew. I'm gonna give this a 2.5. I think this is playable. It fixes for any color. I think people are gonna try to get that Reliquary Dragon, X, Y, and Z. Eight, and he even has some upside. 8 mana is a lot, but if you're gonna dive into that ramp strat to go into that five color strat, you're running this. It's not unplayable. Next, we have Rite of Renewal, 4 mana, three generic and a green, sorcery, uncommon. Return up to two target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Target player shuffles up to four target cards from your graveyard into their library, and you exile this. I'll give it 2.5. I think a lot of people are going to run this as a way to get things that they utilize back and then get four additional things back. Boom. They're going to be happy with this. Next, we have Anok Wayfire. That's two mana, one generic, and a green. Creature Dog Scout, common. When this enters, mill three cards. You may put a land from among them into your hand. If you don't put a 1/1 counter on this creature, it's a 1/1. And a two mana potential 2/2 that potentially gets me a land is too much potentials for me. I'm going to give it a 1.5. I'm not happy to be milling myself to potentially whiff. Actually, I'm going to give it a 1.0. Next, we have Champion of Dusan, 3 mana, two generic and a green, creature human warrior, common with trample and renew, pay two, a generic and a green. Exile this from your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter and a trample counter on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery, is a 4/2. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Sagu Pummeler, 4 mana, three generic and a green, creature beast, common, reach with renew. That's 5 mana, four generic and a green. Exile from your graveyard. Put two 1/1 counters and a reach counter on target creature. This is a 4/4 for four with reach. 2.5. Just run of the mill, just standard cards with some upside. Dang it. Next, we have Trade Route Envoy. That's 4 mana. That's three generic and a green. Creature Dog Soldier. Common. When this enters, draw a card if you control a creature with a counter on it. If you don't draw a card this way, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. It's a 4/3, so it could come in as a 4 mana 5/4. Still 2.5. Playable. Goes in green black counter decks. Just I wouldn't want to play it at 4, but I wouldn't not play it if that's what I'm doing. Next, we have Piercing Exhale. That's 2 mana, 1 generic and a green, instant, common. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may behold a dragon. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. If a dragon was beheld, surveil 2, instant to do this, 2.5. Punch and fight spells are not my favorite form of removal. I prefer removal that doesn't require a secondary source or activity. Next, we have Crotic Nest Guard. That's three mana, 2 generic, and a green. Creature insect, common with defender, and pay 3, 2 generic, and a green. This creature can attack this turn as though it didn't have defender, and it's a 4/4. Yeah, 2.5. Green is getting a lot of just baseline average cards, or I've seen so many cards that by comparison, these are just not stacking up. Snakeskin Veil, always good, always great. Hexproof until end of turn, 1/1 counter. Green black decks are going to want it, but we've seen some indestructible and some hexproof flying around already, seen counters flying around. So this is just, if this is what you need to do, you're going to always run it. Next, we have Sultai Devotee, 2 mana, 1 generic and a green. Creature, snake, creature, zombie snake druid. Common, Death Touch. Pay 1, add black, green, or red. Activate only once each turn. It's a 2/1. I'm actually give this a 3. I think green's really going to be that banger of a build that can allow access to multiple colors. So it's going to be a baseline color. This is also Death Touch, which I really like a lot. So I could be wrong, but I think this just stands well by itself. It doesn't need anything else to just be a solid 2 mana card. Next, we have Heritage Reclamation, 2 mana, 1 generic and a green, instant, common. Choose one, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile one target card from a graveyard and draw a card. Give it a 2. It's okay. Sagu Waddling, 5 mana, 4 generic and a green, creature dragon, common. Roost, Seek. You can pay a green. It's a sorcery omen. Search your library for basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle. Other side, flying. When this creature enters, gain 3 life. It's a 3/3. So 5 mana, 3/3, gain you 3 life. You can pay 1, find a land. Give it a 3. It doesn't ramp, but it does fix. You can do it over and over again. I'm gonna just give it a 3. Sarkon's Resolve, 2 mana, 1 generic and a green, instant, common. Choose one, target creature get +3/+3 until end of turn, or destroy target creature with flying, 2.5. It's playable either way, but you need a little something to go with it. Or things need to line up because if you just 3/3 a creature so your creature doesn't die instead of you having trample, you're just not getting as much value out of the card. Next, we have Undergrowth Leopard, 2 mana, 1 generic and a green, creature cat, common, vigilance. You can sack this creature, destroy artifact or enchantment. It's a 2/2. Get us a 3. 2 mana, 2/2 vigilance. They can sack and blow up a problem permanent. I'm good with it. Or problem enchantment or artifact. Next, we have Roamer's Routine. That's 3 mana, 2 generic and a green. Search your library for basic land card, put on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Also has Harmonize for 5, 4 generic and a green. I'm going to get this a 3.5. This is a really good common. I would prefer if it when it got 2 cards at one time. It doesn't, but you can harm. So say you ramp and you play this for 3, you ramp. The next turn you want to ramp, you can play it again if you have the time. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it. Wish it would have got 2 lands at once, but if you're in that green expanding into 5-color deck, you're gonna want each and every one of these, at least 3, maybe even a playset. I mean, it's not gonna hurt. You're gonna be able to play your big beefy things like you want. But I'm gonna stick with 3. And last but not least in green, we got Dusyut Earth Carver, 6 mana, 5 generic and a green. Creature Elephant Druid, common. Reach when this creature enters, it endures 3, so you can put 3/1/1 counters on it, or create a 3/3 white spirit token. And it's a 4/4 for so for 6 mana, you're getting a 4/4 or a 7/7 for 6, or a 4/4 and a 3/3. The mana cost is pretty expensive. I'm gonna give it a 2.5. All right. That does it for green. Uh yeah. I think a big standout card for me in green was Disruptive Stormbrood. Really like that. It had that Petty Revenge omen on it that destroys a creature with two or less. So my early game is on lock. I would play a play set, or I would play as many copies of this honestly as I could, because from turn two, three, and four, I'm probably blowing something up. And I did give it a four as a rating, but it probably needs to be a 4.5. I'm gonna be grabbing this card in so many situations, it's crazy. All right, let's see. Green overall, though, it just seems to be the scores are more so dependent on the build you can put together. Because if you're able to put the green black deck together, some of the cards that I rated like 2.5s and lower are just going to skyrocket to 3.5s and 4s in the right deck. But solo or without the right strat, they just don't shine that well. All right. So the artifacts aren't really deep. I'm gonna just go in and go over those really quick, and that'll sum it up for the entire set review. So, starting off colorless spells is Ugin, Eye of the Storms. It's 7 generic mana. Legendary Planeswalker Ugin, it's mythic. When you cast the spell, exile up to one target permanent. That's one or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to one target permanent. That's one or more colors. It's +2. You gain 3 life and draw a card. +0, add 3 colorless. -11, search a library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. This costs 7 mana. I love it. So, off bias alone, I'm giving it a 5. I'm just going to say that. But I do have reasons. You cast the spell, you exile permanent that's one or more colors. This is a multicolor set. There's a lot of 3-color cards, 2-color cards, X, Y, Z. Chance of this hitting is very, very high. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you get to do it again. You get to do it again. So that rewards you for playing. And see, it may not need to be a 5 because there's not a lot of follow-ups like artifacts here, a lot of colorless, but all you need to do is get that trigger once again, a second time, and the card it just did the thing. Otherwise, it's a draw engine, mana ramp. That can't go wrong right there. I'm gonna always play Ugin. At the very least, it's a 7 mana removal spell that can potentially remove again, or gain me 3 life draw a card, or ramp me into other plays, or allow me to double, triple spell where I need to. Ugin is what I'm doing. Can't wait to play this. I'm gonna get a hard copy for my commander decks. It's insta play in pretty much every commander deck where I run mana rocks. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right. Next we have Mox Jasper, 0 mana, legendary artifact mythic. You can add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control a dragon. Let's go on and give that a 0. Not much to say there. You want to ramp. You don't want to wait till mid game to ramp for just this. Unless you're trying to now, if you're just trying to trigger your Ugin Eye of Storms again, of course you play. I'm gonna play Ugin, play Mox Jasper, but outside of that, I don't, maybe I shouldn't say it's totally unplayable, but I'm not picking it early. Next, we have Dragonfire Blade. It's 1 mana, artifact, equipment, rare. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, and has hexproof and monocolored. That's pretty good. Equip 4. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each color in the creature it targets. Okay, give it give it 2.5. It's not bad. I like it. And the hexproof and colorless could be very relevant. Next, we have what a few monuments. We have Abzan Monument. That's 2 mana, artifact, uncommon. When this artifact enters, search your library for a basic plain, swamp, or forest. Reveal it. Put it in your hand and shuffle. You can pay 4 mana. That's a generic, a white, a black, a green. Tap. Sack this artifact. Create an X white creature token, where X is the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Give this 2.5 is where I'm kind of leaning because I'm just like, once again, going back to Ugin, it's always going to be great. Just, oh, I got to exile an extra thing, go tutor up something. And at the very least, I get to also generate a token. That's not bad. But on its own, I just went and got, my land. Um, if I don't have any creatures on the board, I don't get to make a token. So there's a lot of caveats to it. Next, we have Jeskai's Monument, 2 mana artifact, uncommon, 2 generic mana. When this artifact enters, search for an island, mountain, or plains, put it into your hand after you reveal it. You can pay for a generic, a blue, and a red. Tap, sacrifice this artifact, create 2/1/1 white bird creature tokens with flying. I like that a little bit more than having it based on another creature I control. Just boom, I get to do it. But I'm still going to give this card 2.5. All of these monuments, unless something just sticks out, probably going to get the 2.5 rating. So let's see. Sultai Monument, 2 generic mana, artifact uncommon. When it enters, get a swamp, forest, or island, reveal it, put in hand. Pay 5, 2 generic, a black, green, and a blue. Tap, sack this artifact, create 2/2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Activate only as a sorcery. Okay, 2.5. Right? Mardu Monument, 2 generic, an artifact uncommon. When this artifact enters, search for a mountain, plains, or swamp. Reveal, put into your hand, shuffle. Pay 5, 2 generic, a red, white, or black. Tap, sack. This artifact, create 3/1/1 white warrior tokens. They gain menace and haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Teamer Monument, 2 generic, artifact, uncommon. When it enters, search your library for a forest, island, or mountain. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. You can pay 6, 3 generic, green, blue, and a red. Tap it, sacrifice it. Create a green 5/5 green elephant. So far, that's like my favorite so far, but it's still expensive. All of these are still kind of like 2.5s because they're more relevant on the deck that you're running and what you're trying to do for them to kind of be highlighted. All right, next we have Dragonstorm Globe. That's 3 mana. Artifact, common. Each dragon you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it. You can add 1 mana of any color. I'm gonna put it at 2.5. I think this could be a 3. Like you might want to run as many as you can if you're running that heavy multicolor deck. If not, it's just like okay, cool. A copy or so might not hurt. Next, we have Embermouth Sentinel, 2 generic artifact creature chimera, common. When this creature enters, you may search your library for basic land, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top of it. If you control a dragon, put the card on the battlefield tapped instead. It's a 2/1. Gotta give it a 2.5. It's okay, but I hate that I have to have a dragon on the board. I wish it had where I could behold it so I could show you like I have a dragon in hand and then I can help you ramping into that dragon in your face. That would be cool. Next, we have Watcher of the Wayside, 3 generic mana, artifact creature golem, common. When this creature enters, target player mills 2 cards. You gain 2 life, and it's a 3/2. Okay, I like it. I mean, just 3 mana to do that. I'd give it a 3.0. That's 3 mana, 3/2, mill 2 cards. If I play another copy, you mill another 2 cards. I gained 4 life in the process. I play another copy, you didn't get milled 6 cards, and I done gained 6 life. Like, it just gets better and better and better. Next, we have Jade Cast Sentinel, 4 mana, artifact creature, Ape Snake, common, with reach. Pay 2, tap it, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. It's a 1/5. It's not that great to me. It's not that great to me. I'm gonna give it a 1.10 actually. You can play it, but it's just not that good. And then Boulderborn Dragon, 5 mana, 5 generic mana. Artifact creature dragon, common, flying, vigilance. When this creature attacks, you surveil one. It's a 3/3. 5 mana, 3/3 with flying and vigilance. I give it 2.5. So overall, the artifacts are okay. Okay. I want to go back and give this Dragonfire Blade. I would love to give it a higher rating, but I think it's right there with the rest of them. They all need to be supported in X, Y, and Z. So yeah, that is the set review. I went over the lands previously. We have a list of multicolored lands here. And all of these multicolored, well, these aren't multicolored lands. These are monocolored lands here. The Dal Coven Encampment, Mistrise Village, Great Arishan City, Corey Mountain Monastery, Kishla Village. Those all do something associated with their colors. Uh, Get the Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. So yeah, I went over the lands in my previous video. So if you want to see that, refer to the video for the multicolored cards where I went over all of those. So I'm very excited. This is the first set that I've done a full review on in a while. Like I really can't remember the last one, and it can be tedious. This is a lot of cards to review. Wizards of the Coast have taken to printing entire books on cards, so it hasn't been easy to get through, but I'm super excited about the set, and that's why I took the time to really kind of get back to it. I'm gonna get back to doing my picker passes, my daily drafts, deck builds, and everything else. So, if you enjoy my content, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. I'm on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, so you have your preference of where you prefer to watch and whatnot. So, as always, you guys are fantastic. I'm Mr. Clintastik, and I will catch you guys next time.